And good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8 live stream. It is Thursday evening, October the 29th, and it is 7:02 p.m. here in the Cap City. Hope that you had a terrific Thursday. Now that Zeta has moved out of the Cap City, it is now 72 degrees. We got precipitation of 16%, humidity at 85% today. We got winds right now at 2 miles per hour. We're looking at a low tonight of 51. Tomorrow it's going to be partly cloudy skies with 50, looking at 58 degrees as a high tomorrow. What a drastic change that's going to be. And then tomorrow night is going to be 39. Saturday, again, it's going to be a nice 55 with a low of 42. And Sunday, we can expect the rains to roll back here to Cap City. It's going to be 62 degrees with a low around 32. We'll let you know right now that you can watch us for a number of different platforms. You can go to our Cruise Inc. Radio Facebook page, our Richmond VA Things to Do group page, also the Cruise Inc. Global page, my personal page, and also the the Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8 YouTube page. I am as we would say when I was preaching, I am hyena happy, peacock proud, and elephant elated to have with us tonight the Honorable Mayor of the City of Richmond, Mr. Levar Stoney. Unless you guys been up on the rock or something, I don't know how you would know him, but Mayor Stoney, of course, is a politician from the Commonwealth of Virginia. He is the 80th mayor of the Richmond City. He served as the Secretary of Commonwealth here from Virginia from 2014 through 2016. And as a special note, he was the first Black appointed to that position and also the youngest member of Governor Terry McAuliffe's administration. He was born, and in case you all want to know, well, I know y'all knows and everything, he was born in March, so he just recently had a birthday. He's 39 years old and was born in Nassau County, New York. Where in the world is Nassau County, Mayor?
That's Long Island right there. That's where I'm from.
That's Long Island.
Hey, I want you to know that's the home of Eddie Murphy and the home of Dr. J as well. And also, if you're a fan of Public Enemy, also the birthplace of Public Enemy too.
Oh, so see, okay, you're gonna roll out the carpet on us.
So
okay.
I just want you to know. I mean, that's what my daddy was born there. My mama was born there too. So I gotta at least give him a little shout out.
Absolutely. Now you went to JMU and also Tab High School. Is that correct? Was that also up in New York?
No. I moved to Virginia when I was 7 years old. So, you know how folks talk about Virginians. You're not a Virginian unless you've been here your whole entire life. But I think I put 32 years in. So Virginia is my home state. I wasn't born here, but I was definitely bred here.
I understand. I'm a transplant from Memphis, so I understand. I guess I've been here long enough to say I'm a Virginian now, especially right. Richmond. So, well, again, we are so glad to have you. And I want to give some shout outs to some people on your team. First of all, Jim Nolan, your director of communications. He and I have been talking, and we've been talking a little football too. Of course, he's a Giants fan, and I'm a Cowboys fan. So we're both holding our breath for at least a miracle this year. I don't know. It looks kind of rough there.
Well, I'm a Jets fan. It's even rougher than that. I got it even more rough than y'all got it. I think we are trying to tank for number one, and they talk about maybe drafting Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson, but we just drafted a third overall pick in Sam Darnold. So I don't think we need a new quarterback. I think we need a new coach.
Well, look, I just heard some information today that we were out scouting for a quarterback, and we may end up with a guy starting Sunday against the Eagles that necessarily hadn't had a real snap, in terms of game time. So I'm not looking. I'll be somewhere probably mowing the lawn or something when that game come on.
I don't blame you.
It's gonna be rough.
I don't blame you.
I want you to know that, again, we certainly appreciate. Want to talk also about Laura Harrison, your assistant, making things happen, Terrell Robinson, making things happen, and also your campaign manager and that entire team. We want to say thank you for making this possible. And more importantly, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And because we know you got a lot going on. So to be here with us, we certainly appreciate that.
I appreciate you, Cruz. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I had that picture of you when you were playing football, man. I tried to get it off your page, but I guess you got that joint locked down or something, right? What position?
Which one is it?
That's the one where it's the black and white, and you look like you might have been playing a linebacker position.
The pads were very big right there. That was middle school, and I was playing tight end, so I had to have the big pads because I was playing tight end, and I played defensive back. That year, so we went two way. I went both ways, and I played both sides of the ball. But then when I got to high school, I played quarterback, and they didn't allow me to play any. Only thing I was allowed to play was just quarterback. So
just quarterback. Mm-hmm. So you are a person that understands pressure, and then as they say, always being second guessed on Mondays when you play quarterback.
I have not had an opportunity to use this in a debate or whatnot, but as a person who played quarterback, I know Monday morning quarterbacking when I see it, and I saw it a lot during this election. That's why I'm glad it's only 5 days left.
Absolutely. Now, this has been, I was talking to Jim when we were talking about, this has been an unusual year, not only for you, but many mayors across the country in terms of having to deal with the pandemic and then deal with the unrest. Do you guys kind of like call a huddle sometimes? You talk to other mayors and you guys kind of look at best case scenarios and a lot of this? And if so, what have been some of the things that have been takeaways from you and communicating with the other mayors, especially those that have had similar problems here to what we've experienced in Richmond?
Yeah, I keep in touch with a number of young Black mayors, particularly throughout the South. I think the Today Show and Esquire magazine did a piece recently on the mayors that I keep in touch with a lot, who are, you can say, in my peer group: the mayor of Shreveport, Adrian Perkins; the mayor of Birmingham, Randall Woodfin; the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Lumumba. Just to name a few of mayors that, Frank Scott from Little Rock, Arkansas. We keep in touch, and we've all gone through the same thing recently. We've had a pandemic, a 100-year plague, essentially. We've had economic collapse, and we've had racial strife, and the product of the racial strife has been social unrest in the streets. And so when I was encountering some of these issues in Richmond over the past year, I definitely reached out to some of my friends who I call my brothers, because no one else in the city of Richmond understands what I'm going through right now. There are obviously some past mayors, folks who served in this role, but they don't understand what you're doing at the moment. They know what may have been done in the 1990s or the early 2000s, but in 2020, it's only a select group of people in this country who understand that. So I did lean on them for advice on how to tackle public safety and policing, and also what they were doing in terms of getting the word out about this pandemic, and what were the restrictions that were allowed in their communities. And so I really frankly believe that we've led the way. A lot of my brothers have leaned on me on asking for ideas. And, when you're a mayor, there's no monopoly on good ideas. And so it is, I'm glad to have that outlet essentially for me, because it has not been, every day is not sunshine, every day is not sunshine.
Yeah, we experienced that today. We had the
right.
winds and the storms and power outages, and then it turned out to be a nice day. So you have to ride that roller coaster.
They said to me, someone said, hey, you've weathered the storm because we knew you had a big umbrella. And so you got to have a big umbrella because it's going to storm. That's going to happen.
Absolutely. I think any position of leadership, you're going to have those when we watch in film, we go back on after the game on Friday, on Monday, we're looking at it and say, man, I didn't see him open like that, or I overshot him. Do you have those quite often when you go back and you look at maybe some things you said, man, I wished I could have maybe said that different or did that different at any point?
Oh, for sure. I'm a person who, during my high school years as a quarterback, I watched tape religiously. And so I like to go back and see who, man, that person was open. Oh, man, I threw that interception. Next time around, I need to readjust and read over here before looking over there, or the defensive back is reading my eyes. And so, oh, yeah, for sure. And I do it with my team as well. I'll go home at night and look at something that we may have done on TV, whether it was an interview or interview over the radio, and I'll say, hey, I said it this way, maybe I need to say it this way the next time, or there will be questions after something I say and say, maybe I need to be more thorough about what I say, but also maybe just looking back at some of the decision making as well. What I recognize that you're not going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. My grandmother told me that. But why I'm able to sleep well at night is that you make decisions leading with your heart, with the information that you're given at the time in real time. And so knowing what I know now, obviously you would want to go back and say, hey, maybe we could have done a couple of things differently. But you know what? You got to have that big umbrella to actually weather the storm.
Absolutely. I have a friend that's an ER physician at Johns Hopkins. He's one of the leading authorities on split-second decisions. And oftentimes, and he teaches and goes around to different cities and corporations, he talks about even if you don't make a decision, you made a decision.
That's right.
So somewhere along the line, it's either going to be the right decision based on, as you indicated, the information that you have, the timing, and all the other aspects that go along with critical thinking. And to be in any form of leadership, what do you think helped prepare you to make those critical decisions, especially in this unusual time that we're in?
Well, leadership has always been at the center of my life. I'm the oldest brother in my family. My grandmother and my father put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders at a young age. When I was, 8 years old, 10 years old, I was the one filling out the checks to natural gas or over to Dominion Power, and also writing the checks to pay the rent. And also I was the person who had to call the bank and tell grandma that, hey, we only got $30 left. And there's only, we got 5 days left in the month. How are we going to eat? I would think about those things and handle the budget. And then, during my early years, I was the president of the student body when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. And so I've always been attracted to taking that leadership role. And as you stated earlier, Cruz, I played quarterback in high school as well. So you have to make these decisions. And guess what? Well, every decision isn't going to be, everyone's not going to love the decisions that you make, but you have to be decisive. And I've learned that a lot of this job is about growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at where I was in 2017 when I came into this role and where I am today. And I asked the community, my constituents, to judge me on my growth. You never want someone who stays stagnant, right? You want someone who's actually progressing each and every year. And I think as mayor, I've done exactly that. No one who I was running against in 2016 had ever done the job as mayor. And no one except for me in 2020 has done the job as mayor. And I got the gray hairs and I got the bruises and wounds to show you what it takes to be a mayor in a growing city here in the United States of America, and to do it as a Black man in a former capital of the Confederacy.
Absolutely. Now I was about to say, now you're not rocking your beard, so you evidently cut that off to make me look bad with this gray hair here, man. That's all right.
They told me I had to get my game face on, so I had to put my game face on a couple months back, and so over the last 60 days or so, I've been in game mode. So this is my game face, but maybe after this victory, you may see the beard come back.
All right. Well, at least you didn't have, you didn't have the war paint on and an eye and everything. So,
They're not gonna allow that, but you did see some gray. I had a lot of folks say, "Man, Mr. Mayor, I mean, this job really getting to you." Now it's like, you know what? The job is not getting to me. I love what I do, and I pinch myself every day, Cruz, because I'm a kid born to a couple of teenagers. My father my mother, my grandparents, they never graduated from high school. And they never, ever would have thought, I think, that I would be the mayor of Virginia's capital city. And so I count my blessings every day. I'm grateful for this opportunity. So, people ask, is this job difficult? Is it hard? And I said, my dad was a custodian at a high school. He mopped floors, he cleaned bathrooms and toilets, and, scraped gum off desks. That's difficult. That's hard.
Right.
What I
Exactly.
do is, what I get to do is a blessing.
I definitely understand that. And again, it is just phenomenal in terms of being able to evaluate yourself and say, hey, these are the things I need to do. And I wanted to get into our talking points tonight because I know you have to probably run some other places. So I'll tell you what, it's going to be times that, again, we'll top it up because we had a chance when you were out in Owens and Minor with us and talking about critical decisions, having to make some decisions there. They've had to make quite a few. And so you were involved in that process and know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get down to education. One of the things that you have touted in terms of when you were first running for mayor and as you continue to point at and talk about it. And I want to specifically drill down right now to teacher retention. Mayor, how do we retain the best and the brightest so that our kids will have a level playing field with other jurisdictions and districts, not only in the Commonwealth, but throughout the country?
Yeah, that has been a priority of my administration. I said I wanted to be the education mayor, and I knew that the key to being successful in the field of education, supporting public education, is supporting our teachers. And so what I'm proud of is that now, with the investment in the Richmond Public Schools, $30 million in new money, more dollars in the Richmond Public Schools than any administration prior, any administration in a generation, those dollars went to raising the salaries of our teachers. Now I believe that we have the highest starting salaries in the Central Virginia region. And that's important because we know that the educators who walk into our schools each and every day are those who are walking into a totally different environment than in Henrico, than in Chesterfield, than in Hanover. And so they should be paid accordingly. And also, it's not just about the compensation, though. I hear that from teachers all the time. They want a great working environment as well. And that's why I have leaned on teachers over the course of the last couple of years. I created a mayor's teacher advisory council where they can inform me on not just on what to do with their workplace in public education. The school board and the superintendent's responsible for that, but what is going to attract and keep a teacher here in the city of Richmond. We've discussed a number of things, but what I'm proud of, the one thing that we're able to do together with a number of teachers is work with the Richmond Fire Department and provide CPR training, which is required of our teachers yearly. We were able to provide that training for free. So teachers don't have to go into their pocketbooks and their wallets to bring out those dollars already out of their paycheck, which is unfortunately getting smaller and smaller in the past. And so that's one thing that we can do to keep teachers as well. But what I hear from teachers is that they have more difficulty dealing with the administration. They want a great workplace, a great working environment. And that means the individual who's in charge of that workplace, each and every school, that's the principal. If you don't have a great principal who can play head coach, and you want people to play on that team, you are likely going to have a problem with the environment as well. And so I am appreciative of Mr. Cameron in finding some good principals for a lot of our schools around the city because good principals keep great teachers. That is the key, I think, to retaining the teachers we have here in RPS.
Absolutely. Being someone that taught at Blackwell Elementary School, John Thompson, and also Meadowbrook High School, I understand you're exactly right. You got to have a supportive team from the top to the bottom in an environment, again, where you can concentrate on the job at hand, which are the students. Again, I think that is vitally important. I think the citizens really want to know how that whole aspect is going to play in together. And as we move to talk about the students, in 2018, Mayor, we saw our graduation rate go from about 75% to 70% in 2019. How do we change that narrative where we go back up towards 75% and beyond in terms of our graduation rate?
I always think that, Cruz, that number right there that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen needs a little context. And I asked Superintendent Cameron about this. I asked members of the school board about this, because as I invest more in Richmond Public Schools and become a champion for public education, obviously I am like every other resident in Richmond. I want to see the bang for my buck, right? I want to see a return on that investment. And the one thing that was told to me, and I agree with this, is that Richmond Public Schools was no longer rubber stamping graduations. They weren't rubber stamping these diplomas. Prior to 2018, that's exactly what we were doing. We were rubber stamping these diplomas. And that is, you miss 18 days or more, we'll just pass you through, graduate from 12th grade. People were not meeting the requirements, and we were still passing them out, graduating them and whatnot. And when you graduate a child with a piece of paper that is not even worth the print, worth the paper that's printed on, you are disabling that person, that student, to compete in the 21st century economy. So I appreciate what Mr. Cameron is doing, because my belief is this: if you set the bar at mediocre, then you're going to be mediocre. But if you set the bar at excellent, then our kids will strive for excellence. It's almost like, Cruz, if you're playing basketball with your kid in the backyard and he's a teenager, but one day he wants to make that high school team, but all you do is play with him on a 6-foot rim, a 6-foot goal. When it gets down to playing time, or the real deal, the reality, and he has to play on a 10-foot goal, is he going to be very good? Is she going to be very good? No, not at all. Not at all. And so we have to set the bar high for our children. And that's exactly, I think, what this current school board and this administration has done, to set the bar higher. And that's why you're seeing this drop in the graduation rate. But here's the thing. I do believe that the investments we've made over the course of the last few years, as I stated again, the most investment we've made in the generation of Richmond Public Schools, you are going to see a return on that investment. Now, I do worry, though, Cruz, that this pandemic will be impactful and disproportionately impactful on our Black and brown students, and those students who you will say fall in the category of the have-nots, right? Because are our kids learning virtually? We are giving them an education every day virtually. Are they learning? Yes, they're learning. Could they be learning a whole lot better inside the classroom? Yes, they could. Yes, they could. But we have to keep health and safety as the #1 priority, because we know that these kids are in our schools, they go back home to grandmothers and parents who may have underlying conditions. And so we have to take different steps, different measures than our friends in Henrico and Chesterfield and Hanover. We can't go following behind the counties, because the people in the city are different than the people in the counties.
Absolutely. So basically, we have kind of like a quagmire here in terms of trying to educate them while keeping them safe. With most of the, especially some of the housing developments, is there a plan that you know of, and something that you're working with the school board to try to maybe increase the bandwidth so that every child, no matter where they live in the city of Richmond, can have access to adequate bandwidth?
Yes, I'm one thing I think people have to highlight. I have to highlight sometimes is that, if we had not invested in Richmond Public Schools the way we have in the last couple of years, they would have been unable to purchase all the Chromebooks they purchased for each and every child in Richmond Public Schools. And also, they get a MiFi. If you have an issue with broadband and Wi-Fi, we have purchased MiFis as well. So the schools have that if you need it, you have it as well. And now we are also working alongside our friends at Verizon. How do we go about expanding 5G in the city of Richmond, but also targeting areas of those who are the underserved in the neighborhoods around the city too.
And one of the things, Mayor, that we all know that everybody will not be able to go to JMU. Everybody won't be able to be a Bulldog or, a Hokie or whatever. In terms of vocational schools and getting them ready maybe for plumbing and some of the other trades that they can actually start to make a decent living. Will we see more of that involved coming along with the new schools that are being built, more vocational schools to, again, level the playing fields where, because I like to go out, and as working as a former Commonwealth attorney, I used to get out there and I would talk to the guys, and my job in terms of gang intervention and intervention. And the first thing they would say, hey, Cruz, man, we feel you. We love to pull down, take down these flags. I love to give you my flags, but dog, you really not offering me anything. You tell me to put down my flag, but yet you want me to go and take a job at McDonald's. They said, hey, I can't do that, man.
That's right.
So what else alternative will we be able to give them being proactive so they won't have the streets as an alternative?
That's right. And this is about economic empowerment to me, right? We already know that roughly 20% of our residents live under the poverty line. That's down from 26% about 4 years ago. We don't know what the new numbers look like now after the pandemic and this economic collapse. I'm sure that number is probably higher than 20% now. And we also know that 40% of our children live under the poverty line too. And here's the thing. Obviously, remember I just said that we want our kids striving for excellence. We want to set the bar high for our children. And that means for me that we want to produce college graduates who turn in, high school graduates that turn into college graduates. All right. And if that's the pathway from you for our children, for some of our children, we want them to be able to choose that pathway. But also, I think that we should obviously open the door for those who say, you know what, maybe college isn't for me. Maybe I want to go to the military. Right. Let's send our kids to the military if they want that. My brother's a recruiter for the United States Air Force. He visits high schools throughout the Northwest in the Pacific Northwest on a regular basis. He sees what I see, and that is there are some kids who may not be desiring a college education, but are skilled and talented enough to either go and choose a life of public service or be like my father and are able to use a skill or a trade, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's plumbing, electrician, carpentry, you name it. These building trades are looking for talented people each and every day. And my whole thing is it can start earlier than 12th grade or post their graduation from high school. And what I've learned from Mr. Cameron, the superintendent, is we have a tech center already, but they got some great ideas I think that are swirling around. And that is looking at the building that was gifted off of Commerce Road by Altria to Richmond Public Schools. We're renovating that building and turning that building into a CTE campus, an academy where mm-hmm. you can pursue a CTE there, a career technical education there underneath that roof, but also bring in J. Sergeant Reynolds as well and allow for our kids to graduate with a associate's degree too, and a high school diploma, and also a credential at the same time, making them marketable for the 21st century economy as well. These are partnerships that we can put together right here in the city limits.
That would be an awesome program, and I know that would put us again in that cutting edge of really looking at our youth, taking care of our youth, rather than giving them a lot of rhetoric, some things that they really could sink their teeth into.
And I'll say, Cruz, that boils down to funding as well, though, right? That means that's part of Mr. Cameron's dreams for RPS strategic plan that we funded in the past. We need not only a mayor who's willing to stand up and say, I'll fund it, but also we need a city council to do the same thing. And so when I hear the rhetoric about how our schools need to do more with less, I said, that's baloney. They need to do more with more.
Mm-hmm. All right, this next, I don't know who scheduled this, man, for 30 minutes. Did you just? No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about affordable housing. I know, again, when we people, when they hear the word affordable housing, they always think about, again, housing development. But I want to take that a little bit further, not only talk about, changing the complexity of the public housing, but adding perhaps education, teaching people how to be financially responsible, getting them ready for the housing. Also, in reference to looking at how to housing education. What does your administration have in terms of right now and possibly in the future that's built and centered around improving housing, affordable housing?
Yes, I'm very proud of our record on affordable housing. And then I always remind people that my record should be seen not as an end to our problems, but as a beginning, a start to the solutions. And so I'm proud of the record over the course of the last 4 years. We've tripled the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We only had $750,000 in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the city of Richmond, one of the largest cities one of the top 100 largest cities in the country. We did better. We tripled the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which provided housing services and also dollars to incentivize housing development, affordable housing development as well. Also, though, we had a goal to build 1,500 units of affordable housing, partnering with the private sector crews back in 2018. We wanted to build those 1,500 by 2023. We blew past that goal and were able to put 1,900 built or ready to or will be built by the end of 2020. I'm very, very proud of that. Also on the affordable housing side as well, we looked at the issue of evictions as well. We started the first of its kind in the Commonwealth of Virginia eviction diversion program. We've saved roughly 450 families from being out on the street by investing in the eviction diversion program. And what that program does is it keeps the tenant in the home, diverts that from being evicted, keeps the tenant in the home, and allows for the landlord to be made whole, but also provides financial literacy for the tenant, so they don't end up in that situation again. And a lot of times it does come back to financial literacy and how to use those dollars that are so finite, because what we've learned is that if it's your car breaks down, or if if there's a medical disaster in your home, then right like that, your plan B is destroyed, and right now you can't meet the rent that way. And a lot of our families in the city are having that sort of issue in their lives, where something may happen out of the blue that was unplanned, and they have to continue to get to work. They put the priority on getting to work so they can keep on being able to pay the rent, but sometimes they lose their ride. They can't get to their job, and that's how they find themselves in that spiral, unfortunately. And here's the thing. Today, we made a major announcement that we are one of 25 cities in the country that are going to be entering into a pilot program, universal guaranteed income. And that is, we're going to give $500 to 18 families, $500 a month to 18 families for the next 24 months.
Wow.
Right? And it's for those who don't qualify for TANF, who don't qualify for other federal benefits as well. They're kind of caught in that gap. And we're going to study and find out, what are they going to do with that extra $500, right? A lot of times you're going to buy groceries. They're going to pay that rent, pay that extra bill that they've been punting to the next month. We all know about that, where you punt on the electric bill, you punt on the gas bill, and say, on the water bill, we're going to get it next month. We're going to see what they do with that extra $500. And what I guarantee what you're going to see is that they're going to choose not to use it on things that people try to, categorize or try to pigeonhole certain people into saying, oh, they're going to use it on things that are not going to be of any value. You're going to see folks use it on things to actually continue to meet the needs of their families, I think, as well.
But when it comes to addressing the needs of the homeless, do you think that it's more of a city issue, or should this be a state issue, or a combination of both to try to reduce the homelessness, especially within the city limits of Richmond?
I think it takes collaboration at all levels, right? You need the federal government involved. You need the state government involved. You need local government involved. And I'm proud of Richmond because we are one of the most compassionate and generous cities when we talk about homelessness in Virginia. I mean, you don't see the services that we provide to those who lack housing and anywhere going east of here, east of Richmond or south. You may see some of what we do in Northern Virginia, but no one, you basically anywhere after Quantico, you're not going to see localities do what we do when it comes to homelessness. And I'm thankful for having such compassionate partners like in the greater continuum of care. There's a number of organizations, nonprofits that come together and wrap their arms around those who are facing these hardships of the inability to find housing. And so what we've done over the course since the pandemic has begun, we have housed, Cruz, 700 different individuals during this pandemic. We put them up in hotel rooms that have been unfortunately vacant because of the pandemic. People aren't traveling anymore. People aren't staying in hotels then. And we've put these those who are facing homelessness in these hotel rooms that gives them shelter, a bed at night, either air conditioning or heat, a shower and a bath, and also 3 meals a day. They were not getting that under the congregate care that we're offering in the cold weather overflow shelter. In the cold weather overflow shelter, which has been a part of this debate, all they were getting was this foil sort of blanket and a mat on the floor. We think that our people deserve a whole lot better. So I'm thankful for our partnership with the number of nonprofits who've come together to wrap their arms around those who need our help the most.
And I'm sure all those people are very appreciative of the efforts, and especially in this time where mentally, physically, emotionally, people are being worn down. Just even those of us that even what we call have half of our faculties are very stressed out. So, and again, Mayor, I'm not rushing you or anything, but
we got time. We good. We got time.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about again, because I'm a resident, I have a home here and within the city limits, that big question, the personal property taxes, right now I think they're at $1.20 per $100. Will we see inevitably an increase in those taxes, especially where they're about maybe 10 or 20 cent more than what we're seeing right now?
Well, no mayor, no elected official, I think, ever wants to go to the people and say we need to raise taxes. That's the last thing I think that any elected official wants to do at any level of government. And I've always said that we got to do certain things first before we even talk about raising taxes. And I think when you see in my tenure is that we were doing certain things better than we've done in the past, like the collection of outstanding taxes as well. When I became mayor, we had a 94.4% tax collection rate. We were able to raise that to 97.4. We collect more taxes now today than we did 10 years ago, than we did 5 years ago. And I'm proud of that. And what we did also was move these blighted and tax delinquent homes back on the tax rolls, which bring more dollars in the city. Okay. I'm proud of that. We need to do those things well before we go into people and asking them for taxes. And here's the thing. What I hear from people, I don't hear people saying to me, Mr. Mayor, I want less services in Richmond. I hear people say, I want more services in Richmond. And I've always believed if you want more, you got to show folks how you're willing to pay for it. I'm not going to play these games with our residents and say, oh, we're just going to rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't believe in that. If you want more, if you want better roads, you want better parks and better facilities, I'm always going to show you how we can pay for it. And if the people and the city council disagree with me, I can always say, I showed you how to pay for it. Let's find other ways to do it then. Luckily enough, over the course of the last few years, we've seen a lot of growth in Richmond. And we've seen a lot of growth in the housing market as well. Your tax rate as it is $1.20 per $100, has not gone up. What folks have seen, though, is that your assessment, the value of your home has gone up. And the value, that growth has allowed us to pay for a lot of things. However, as we have seen or we're seeing now, the good times don't roll on forever. Let's continue to see that growth. Obviously, when you see growth in your home, Cruz, that means and you see value, the growth in your value in your home, that means if you choose to sell your home and you choose to pass it down to your heirs, that they're getting a high, more value than you got when you bought the home. That's how you create generational wealth. But what we need to do, though, is what I've also attempted to do, is we have to expand the tax base. There is a project that we're looking at right now in downtown Richmond, the old public safety building. And what was stated is, in reviewing of our economic development team, is that if you were to develop that property, it would create $2 million in new revenue for the city of Richmond. That's like raising 1 cent on the real estate tax.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do more growing on these properties that are currently undeveloped instead of actually looking at taxes. But we need, what we've become very adept in America and also in the city of Richmond, we've become very adept in blocking and saying no to initiatives. We need to become more adept in doing our best to say yes and working together to get something done for the people of this great city.
Mayor, how do we get with some of the more larger food chains and to address the issue of food deserts on, just about like the North Richmond area, mm-hmm. South side especially, because again, we both know that, and again, I'm not knocking small businesses, but in order for our kids to eat better, for us to eat better, we got to have, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, those things that some of the local smaller stores don't offer. So how do we address the food deserts and get people? Because I was talking to one developer about 4 months ago, and he was saying that economically putting stores in a south side or put them in east end, it would be upside down virtually, that it would not be sustainable. Again, how do we change that narrative where, again, we can have the same things that, because let me drill down a little bit further. We're taking tax dollars, because if you live in the south side, you're either going to go to the Walmart on Hopkins Road, or you're going to go to the food line on just down Jeff Davis. That's city revenue that's leaving. So in order to, as you said, we got to continue to build our economic base, then we can't build it if we're still letting money go outside the city limits.
That's right.
So in your administration, will you be working to perhaps with some of these stores or some of these corporations to see about addressing those issues?
Cruz, what your friend told you is exactly right. It is about economics, but obviously that is of no comfort to the mother who lives in Hillside and is looking for a place to shop to find nutritional foods for her kids. It is about economics. And here's the thing. There is not one panacea for food deserts in our city. I'm proud that during my administration, we were able to work with the market at 25th and bring that to light in the East End, because we knew there was a food desert in the East End. There's food deserts in South Side as well. But really what I believe that what your friend was trying to tell you is that we need more rooftops. We need more households in the vicinity that we are going to anchor a supermarket, right? Because at least they can actually draw a circle around where this supermarket is going to be, this grocery store, and say, we can at least count on these individuals to shop here in the future. And that means to me that we have to grow. We have to grow vertically, right? We have a lot of single family homes here in the city of Richmond, right? Particularly in Southside and the East End. When we look at growing the city, we looked at the Richmond 300 plan, the master plan on how we grow Richmond between now and 2037, Richmond's 300th birthday. We need to look at growing vertically as a city, bringing more multifamily housing into all parts, all corners of our city, in the East End, and South Side, and North Side, and the West End. And as you grow, not only will you be able to solve some of the problems around affordable housing, because you're building more units of housing in the city, but also you'll be able to help solve the problem around food deserts as well, because now these potential grocery stores can count on more bodies and more households that will use the grocery store that's in that vicinity. Because if you can't count on the heads, on the households, then you have to raise your prices. And when you raise your prices, you are pricing people out who live right there in that vicinity. And guess what? They end up going shopping. They're going back to their old habits of shopping in Henrico and Chesterfield.
Absolutely. Ooh, here's one, man. I'm sure you enjoy talking about, man. You probably had heard this question in some shape, form, and fashion. On as a part of your platform, you talk about police reform. What does that continue to look like for your administration?
Yes, my team is continuing the effort of reimagining and reforming our police department, reimagining public safety here in the city. And, I appointed a task force of roughly 40 people from the community. They're academics, they are community activists. Some are a couple police officers, those who work in the human services world, social workers, things of that nature. And the task has been to reimagine the way we deliver on our commitment of public safety to all of our residents. And what I hear, Cruz, from the communities that I visit, those in the East End and those in the South Side, they say to me, Mr. Mayor, we need the police department and we want the Richmond Police Department. But we want the Richmond Police Department that shows up in the West End, in the Museum District, or in Windsor Farms. We want the same police department that shows up there to show up in the East End, in Churchill, and in Gilpin, and in Creighton Court. And we have to be able to deliver on that promise. And that's exactly what we're working on and building that trust. To me, the police departments that are good in this country are the ones that are transparent and the ones that lean into accountability as well. And that's why I support a civilian review board that is independent of the police department, that has subpoena power as well. I support us being more innovative about how we arrive on a scene of a non-criminal offense. That's why I support the Marcus alert as well, a crisis alert that would help with building out a community care team of social workers and mental health workers who can help with an incident that involves either of those two, those who might be experiencing an episode. I just don't believe that you need an armed officer to arrive at every non-criminal offense. And here's the thing, if Eugene, Oregon can do it, if Eugene, Oregon can divert 20% of their non-criminal calls to this team that has disciplines in human services, then why can't we do it as well? But you have to fund those changes. You have to fund those reforms. And I know there are a lot of Richmonders out here who took to the streets against racial injustice, and I agree with them with their protesting these racial injustices that our country and our city have been seeing for years and years. But we have the way to root out systemic racism isn't by cutting budgets, cutting the police department budget. It's about, I believe, in funding the change and reforms we need, funding more training for our officers, and also working on policies. I'm glad that the General Assembly and the governor just signed the ban against no-knock warrants, also supporting full disclosure of disciplinary records so that we're not hiring someone who may have come from another locality in Virginia and just coming here when they have a background in misconduct that would not be up to our standard. Here's the thing, Cruz. Our police department is nationally recognized, nationally accredited. What we all want is a police department that's accredited by our community. That's what matters the most to me.
Now, early on, Mayor, there was a lot of clamor and conversation about defunding police departments, not only here but across the country. What do you say to those that, again, want to? I'm sorry, when you're at a home studio, sometimes
you got a family. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we got an 18-year-old.
That's what our teachers are dealing with. So some of our teachers at home, some of our families at home, they're working from home. They got kids in the background. I got you. Somebody was using the microwave earlier. I heard it. Do.
Oh, you heard the microwave? I try to keep a poker face.
And you give them that dad look like, come on, you're still trying to work.
Yeah, we got an 18-year-old multi-poo that's a little blind, so she tries to go toward the street. So her mom tried to get and make sure she don't get hit.
I got you.
Yeah, appreciate that. But we were talking about the defunding. What would you say to people again to help them to understand what they're actually asking for when they say we need to defund our police?
As I said earlier, what I hear from those in our communities, and Mr. Mayor, I want the police department to, when I call, to arrive right away. If I'm experiencing someone if I'm getting burglarized or is there a burglary, that I want someone, the police, to show up right away. If I'm being robbed or if someone in my family is being attacked, I want the police to arrive right away. And so my number one responsibility as mayor is the safety, the health and well-being of my residents. And so I want to continue to provide a police department that can arrive in a short period of time. And that means to me, but I also want to make sure that we can eliminate fear in our communities. And that means, folks call to me about, gun violence in the communities. The fact that there are families in our community who hear constantly, consistently, with too much frequency, gunfire in their communities. I got to be able to look them in the face and say the police department is going to show up on time and be able to help. And so to me, that means not slashing budgets. That means how do we go about reforming the police department so our police officers have the training necessary to respond, have implicit bias training as well. And here's the thing, not just training during their academy years, but training throughout, just like our police, our educators are given more leadership development and professional development. We need to do the same thing for the police department as well. And so to me, it's not about slashing budgets. It's about actually funding the change and reform we want to see out of our police department.
And do you think that would also help in terms of the retention of police officers, knowing that one, they're going to be able to do the job that they were hired for and not be necessarily social counselors and all the other things that are thrusted upon their plate, that this will be more inviting and then more competitive here in the city as well?
Yeah, obviously. You can look at my record on what I've done to fund public employees in the city, whether it's educators, whether it's firefighters, whether it's police officers. I'm proud of my record on that because I know that we have to keep up with the Henricos and the Chesterfields. And here's the thing, just in city government in general, we have talented individuals who work for city government. We attract them to city government, we train them, we develop them, and then before you know it, they find themselves working in Henrico and Chesterfield. And so we got to continue. The cost of doing business as a city is making sure that we keep up in terms of the compensation for our employees. However, I think that it is it's good to highlight the fact that bad cops are bad for good cops, bottom line. And so we want a police department that we can trust no matter the incident. And that's exactly what should be the goal. And we have the leader in the police department to do that, and that is Chief Gerald Smith. He's a reformer, he's a change agent, and I believe in his work.
Man, we got two more things, and I'm going to let you go eat dinner, man. I don't know. I don't want to have to buy you a dinner tonight or anything. When it comes to, because unfortunately, with the pandemic, with the unrest, we've had a lot of overtime and a lot of money that you had to allocate and spend. When it comes to balancing the budget, first of all, are we operating in the black right now as a city, and how do we continue to operate in the black and kind of offset those expenses? Because you all know if you have an incident at home and you have to go into that special funding, some way you got to get that money back in there. So under your administration, how do we do that?
Yeah, the pandemic, as we stated earlier, there's no playbook for the pandemic, right? There's no playbook for, three of these issues all at the same time, a 100-year plague, economic collapse, and, dealing with any social unrest that comes from racial strife. But we've had to do that. And a lot of mayors around the country have done the same thing. But what we've done here locally is what people in their homes do anytime they're faced with crisis. And that is that sometimes you have to tighten your belt. And in March 6th, I presented to the public a bold budget plan that would invest in pushing back on some of these inequities. It was a bold plan based in equity. And then a week later, we had to be the first locality to start suspending mass gatherings. And then one of the first localities that began the work on trying to box this virus in, which has caused financial crunch for us as a city as well. So what we did is we froze discretionary spending. We put a freeze on hiring as well. And at the end of the last fiscal year period, we actually were able to overshoot some of our projections because of some of the work we did with our businesses, some of the things I championed, like, telling the ABC and the governor that we should allow for restaurants to be able to sell mixed drinks and alcohol via carry out and delivery. That helped us overshoot some of our projections on meals taxes and real estate taxes and things of that nature. That is a good thing. We had a surplus at the end, over $13 million. And what we've been able to do is allocate a great portion of that $13 million to post-employment benefits for our employees, but also put a lot of those dollars into a rainy day fund. Because guess what? We are not out of the woods. This virus is still jumping from host to host. We've seen 270 deaths already here in the city already. So we still have to be very cognizant and very conservative about how we go about our spending fiscally, and we're going to be a good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. And so I think we've been already recognized for the good work, us being a steward of the taxpayer dollars, by Moody's, Fitch, and S&P on Wall Street, where they've stated that they've given us upgrades under my time as mayor. Our credit rating has gone up, not down, over the course of the last couple of years, and I plan on continue to be that fiscal steward for our city.
Mayor, of course, we know, again, like any other city, we've had a lot of unrest here, a lot of racial tension and division and polarization. And one of the talking points, or one of the things on your platform, is building one Richmond. Yeah. Tell us about how that vision and how you will carry that out of this healing process for our city.
Yeah, building one Richmond is what I chose as my motto as a city government back in 2017, because it was aspirational. We always have to be shooting for us coming together and uniting as one, not 9 different Richmonds, as in the 9 different wards we have, and not 2 Richmonds, not north of the river versus south of the river as well. We have to come together as one Richmond. And for me, people come to me every day for the last few months and have asked crews whether or not this is a racial reckoning that we are experiencing as a city. Yes, I'm proud that I removed those racist Confederate monuments, but I don't want to be defined as the mayor who removed the Confederate monuments. I want to be known as the mayor who transformed public education, transformed public housing. I want to be known as the mayor who closed the gaps, the disparities between Black Richmonders and white Richmonders, the have and the have-nots. To me, that is the true test on whether or not this is a racial reckoning. I'm running for mayor for another 4 years because, if we get to 2030, right, which I think the next decade is one of the most critical decades in the city's history after Reconstruction, after the Civil Rights Movement. If we get to 2030 and we've not closed those gaps, then we will have missed our moment. And I'm running for mayor because I don't want my city to miss her moment. I'm in this to make sure that we close those divides in our city. And we only can do that by working together, united under one Richmond.
Mayor, as we close out tonight, you've been so gracious with your time. We certainly appreciate that. But I want to give you an opportunity to say whatever you want to say to the citizens of Richmond and those that have been watching this and those that will be going to the archives and the YouTubes and looking at this live stream tonight. What would you want to say to them in terms of, rehiring you, basically, is I like to say, to come back and continue to put your plans in action and to build one Richmond. What is that convincing argument here to say, hey, Levar Marcus Stoney, am the man?
Thank you, Cruz, and thank you for this opportunity. And what I want to tell Richmond tonight as we sign off, there's 5 days left in this election season. If you haven't already voted early, you can still do that, and you can still vote on November 3rd as well, is that I love my job. It's been the greatest honor of my life. A kid born to a couple of teenagers and grew up on free and reduced lunch. I get to serve as the mayor of Virginia's capital city. And here's the thing, during this campaign, I've heard a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. I've heard a lot of negativity. And I really do believe that a vast majority of Richmonders love the city, and they want to hear about a positive vision. What you've heard from me this year during this campaign is my record, which I believe is not the end to our problems, but a beginning to the solutions that we need to move the city forward. And what you always hear from me is what Richmond can do, not what Richmond can't do, right? Our children get told what we can't do and what they can't do every day. A lot of the kids look like me. I was told what I can't be, or that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that because of how much money I made, or how much money my family made, or the circumstances I come from. I'm going to always tell Richmond what we can do. And I'm going to work my heart out to make sure that we not only heal the city, that we continue to move the city forward. This is a really critical time in the city's history, and you need a leader who has experience, but also a leader who has the temperament to do this job and to do it well. And I believe there's a lot more work to be done, and I believe I'm the leader to get it done. And so I'm asking for another 4 years that we can continue to take this city to the next level. And I hope to have your vote at the polls before November 3rd.
Mayor, don't go anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and close out here. We'll let everybody know that tomorrow you can still go out to the 3 locations that's on downtown at City Hall, also on 3421 West Laburnum. I got that back, 2431. I checked my notes on that.
The end of West Laburnum, the end.
The end of West Laburnum, and also at the Hickory Hill Community Center. And Saturday is the last day that you can go vote early. That's going to be from 9 to 5. So you want to get out there. And if it was like last Saturday, you want to get out there a little early, but around about say 10:30 or so. The line started to kind of thin out, and anytime after 10, you can still. But most important thing right now is to go vote. Remember that your voice is your vote, and your vote is your voice. So please do that. And Mayor, I want to say to you, thank you for being here with us tonight. Don't go anywhere. Everybody, thank you for being here with us tonight. Cruise Inc. Radio 102.8 live stream. I want you to go if you want to listen to some great jazz tonight. You need to unwind. You need to do whatever you need to do, Mayor. If you want to, relax a little bit, hear some great jazz, go to Cruise Inc. Radio .com. I guarantee you, whatever stress you had today, you will leave it right there on the table. Then right after that, we have some great R&B with After Hours with Al Seaport. So we got 24/7 relaxing music, gospel music from 4 to 7 a.m. Guys, appreciate you all being here with us this evening. You all have a great evening. And I always say, whatever comes from the heart reaches the heart. Let somebody know how much you love them before it's everlasting too late. Have a good night. This is your boy Cruz, the Beast from the East, and I'm out of here.